Welcome. In this video we are going to look at a way of rigging out the shoulder. So currently I've set up my model. I have my arm parts, I have a shoulder, I have the body. We could have a second arm that we would be working with. Once we get this all rigged, what we can do is put it into a backdrop and clone it and do all that fun stuff. But for now, let's just get one arm working and see how it's going to go. So with that, I'm going to just take a look at the upper arm here, switch into the drawing view, and notice I have overlay art, line art, color art, and there's no underlay on any of my layers. So I have 3 art layers set there. The lower arm has the same. The hand only has line art and color art, as does the stripe. The shoulder, when we look at that, has line art, color art. It does not have overlay. So these things will become important when we start rigging this up with our art layers. Now to do this means we're going to need overlay, line art, auto patch, color art, and if we were to add in an underlay, we could add that as well. So one of the things that we can do is we can just start adding those nodes. So add line art, overlay, auto patch, color. And I'm not going to add the underlay art right now because, well, frankly, I'm not anticipating using it, so we're just going to leave it off. Now, one thing that we can do is, if I have all of these layers, I can rename them. So they're all renamed, so they're shorter OL, LA. But what I can also do as a way to kind of make this a little bit more manageable so my node view fits on my screen, we'll right click and choose group selection, and now when I go into that group I will see where it has grouped these items. Now if I hold down Alt or Option and drag that composite out of here, we don't need it down here. So now we have those layers all nicely named. They will sit in this group. I'll click the yellow box to rename this, and I will just call this Art Layers-G. So the fun part about doing this is I can just simply put this in. Now we can see it auto connected that, and well, frankly, I'm just going to go through and just nuke all of those because, well, I don't need them, and I will be connecting them a little bit later. The cuff stripe I can put in because, well, we'll just leave that off just so it doesn't get confusing right away at the beginning. So we have the start of our option here. We'll copy that, paste it for each one. But as you can see, this gives me a slightly cleaner node view as I set these up. And if I hover over any of the output ports, it tells me even which one that is. So we have overlay, I have line art, I have auto patch, and I have color art. So it tells me which of those that I have going. So what we will now need to do is we're going to need to build out a bunch of cross-cutting to make our shoulder work. And as we want to build out this cross-cutting, we're going to need some cutters, we're going to need some composites as part of it. So I'm going to just start putting these out. So each limb part is going to need a composite. So I know that as a starting point. Then we're going to need some additional composites that when we do our cross cutting, we'll need composites for grabbing multiple auto patches to put things together. So I know with this, the upper arm is going to need to cross cut with the shoulder, and the lower arm needs to cross cut with the upper arm. So that tells me I need 2 more composites. So we'll just stash those. One's going to be there, one's going to be, we'll put them over here in some free space as we work with that. Now, we'll need a cutter to go along with it. And we need a cutter so we can go do some cutting action. For the lower arm needs to be cut by the auto patch of the upper arm. And then we need to do some cutting between the upper arm and shoulder, the shoulder and the body. So we're going to need a few more cutters here. So we'll just stash a few of these over here as needed. So what we can do is start just doing some basic connecting with it. Now the hand is not cutting anything, so right here, this is just, if I go to that port, that is my color art port, drag that over. Hand isn't using an auto patch, it needs its line art, and we will put the hand on so we can see that. Now the lower arm, as the lower arm is going to connect, right now the color art, we'll just put that into the composite. Now one thing you can do if you want to speed things up, if I click on that group, or if I select on multiple nodes and then hold down Alt or Option and click on a composite, it will connect all of them. Now the auto patch doesn't need to go into a composite. The auto patch is going to be cutting, so it needs to go there the same way that we have overlaid, line art, auto patch. The auto patch from the shoulder is going to need to cut the line art of the upper arm. So that's overlay, then we have line art going here, and it is being cut. So we'll stick that in. Just pull these down so we can get a little better cable view. Now the auto patch is going to be cutting the line art, which will reconnect that there, and then put the line art. Where did that go? All right, let's pull the line art off of here because, oh, wrong one, that's the overlay. Put the line art here. So this is the lower arm which had overlay, and the upper arm had overlay, so I need another composite, so we'll just, and there it is. So this is my overlay composite for my arm. Oh, wrong button. Grab the other one. And then that overlay, we can just stick down. No, it needs to be on top of the hand, so we're putting a line. Oh, probably, actually, it doesn't really matter with the overlay, but we'll leave it there for now. Because the hand needs to be below the lower arm, so if we put that in, so it creates the cuff view that we have going there. And now if I bring my line art and color art, bring my line art and my color art, bring that down for the upper arm here, so we can see that now we're starting to get somewhere with this. Now the cuff stripe, if we go and stick that in, we can see it extends out, so that needs to be cut. So if I want to cut that, we'll just hold down Alt and stick that in. So now that is being cut, and it needs to be cut by the lower arm's auto patch. So overlay, line art, auto patch. Drag that over. We can see that's the opposite, so we need to do an invert cut. Double click right there, invert cut, boom, done. So the arm is taking shape here, Now, with the upper body, our cutters won't be there. We'll have our shoulder. We'll stick the shoulder on. We'll stick the upper body on there. Let's go stick some color art in. Stick some color art in as well. Now the auto patch of the body is going to need to cut the shoulder as is. So if we put that over, and then we bring our line art down, auto patch of the shoulder needs to cut the body. So we can see that's now cutting it, and then we need to go grab the line art from the shoulder, and it is being cut by the body, and it's there. So those are working with that. We do have problem that if we nudge, we can see we're not getting quite the view that we want there, so we're going to have to work on that a little bit because while we're cross-cutting the upper arm, we need to also cross-cut the shoulder so that when we do our nudging and move things back and forth, so that means we need one more composite, and that composite goes there, and now we grab the auto patch from the upper arm and stick that into the composite as well. So that's going to allow us to do our nudging with it. So as you can see, I'm going to just rename this one here. Just call it OL comp so we know that that is my overlay one, to just make it a little bit easier to keep track of. And we can actually, it fits really nicely right there, so we'll just leave it right in that spot. It's for those two pieces. So we're starting to kind of take shape here. Now with this arm, we could even connect all of these into a group, the same way we can have these, or into a arm composite, and bring it down so we don't have so many parts going down. So that would probably make sense. So let's grab, okay, well that added that one in. Now we'll just start replacing them in the order that they are there. So now this is my arm composite, and let's go grab a body composite here. We'll stick that over there, dump that in. So that's creating a much healthier layout. So we have the body, we have one of our arms going in. This is going to be then essentially our main, this is our character composite, which should then we should have one more really, which would be our scene, so if we're putting this character with other things. But first what we want to do is let's put some pegs on this so we can start working with it a little bit. But hopefully you appreciate, by grouping the layers into a group, the art layers, it allows us to clean up our view considerably while we're working, so we don't have so many little pieces floating around, but we always have access to whatever nodes that we need. So we'll just zoom out for a little bit there. Now let's select everything here, Command or Control Shift P, that gives us pegs for each of our items. Now we need another set for the arm. So we have our lower master and our arm master. And then from the body, this is our upper body peg. So we'll just go upper body on that. We'll add in one more peg here. This is going to be our master peg. So the upper body connects to the shoulder. The master peg will connect to the arm master. We'll just rename that just to make it easier. So we have an arm master. the arm master connects to the lower arm master, the lower arm connects to the hand, and the lower arm also will connect to the cuff stripe there. And we'll turn animate back on just so the color looks a little better when I click on the peg, so I know I am indeed clicking on pegs. So I can save that, click here. So if I want to move the arm, up, probably should set some pivot points first. I've added the peg, so we'll start out. Let's go and set these pivot points. Then we can do some animation tests with it and make sure everything is working how we anticipate. So remember, we always put pegs in a vertical orientation when we know that they're going to share the same location, which they should. You shouldn't set them independently. It works better to set them as a group. Where we put the shoulder peg, you could argue that you want it at that shoulder joint. We may also want it more just center located with it. These three from, if I had the rest of the body, I'd put the main master peg probably between the feet, but as it is, I'll just put it down at the base of the body shape. So now, when I click on this and look at it, I'm going to just put an F6 there, and we'll just extend this out with F5, go to my next frame. If I move the arm, we can see that the arm can move in front of the body, as it should. So now let's move it here. Bend at the elbow. We can see the placement of that probably needs to be located further down based on how the artwork was drawn. So this is one of those, if we were to turn animate off so we don't get a keyframe. So let's verify how that works real quick, because otherwise that's kind of ugly. Okay, so now we made a permanent change on it. It's been corrected. If I go to my next frame, okay, that's working better. We can see and I don't know why I was wanting to use an overlay comp. I don't actually need one here. It's going to work better. Just run each overlay into each respective limb comp, because now if I move here, we can see that the arm is in front, but if we go and grab that lower arm and push it back, we can see it goes back, it goes behind the body. Now we get the upper arm showing, so we're getting now the correct orientation. I don't know what I was thinking using that, so strike that. Doesn't always go as planned. When we're working, we sometimes are thinking of the wrong thing as we do it. Now with this arm, if I grab the whole arm, pull it forward, we can see it's in front of the body with it. And now if we go and grab that arm master and alt shift it back, so we're able to adjust location in space, moving it forward and back, because we are taking advantage of the cross cutting happening at the shoulder. So now if the arm goes here, we're able to move the arm. Probably need to do a little cleanup on the artwork for the shoulder and pivot points, because I didn't use standardized shapes, so we're getting some weirdness happening and showing there, so that's a little bit messy, but it's not end of the world messy. Again, this is why as you build out your rig, you move parts regularly and often to test them, make sure that they are behaving. So the key takeaways are, we're doing a cross cut to the upper arm, a cross cut to the shoulder, and we're and a cross cut to the upper arm. So if I pull this over, we can see we're cross cutting with it. So the shoulder is getting cross cut by its neighbors on both sides, where the lower arm is only being cross cut by the upper arm. The hand isn't being, it's just sitting there behind. The stripe is being cut by the lower arm, but that means as we animate, depending on our view, we have the option where we can slide it across as it fits within the arm, so we can create the illusion that we're looking at different parts of the sleeve, or the sleeve is rotating in space. To finish cleaning this up, what would be useful is to select some nodes, and let's just insert a backdrop. And we'll make this backdrop be left arm. Give it some color. And now let me just pull the master peg up, and we'll select these nodes, and we'll insert a backdrop. And this collection of nodes we will refer to as upper body, and close. This is now my character composite, so what I really want to do is to insert one more composite, because it's currently my scene composite, but I would prefer to have a character composite. So we'll grab one more. Character comp. There. So that gives us a little bit better organization to our scene. By select this grouping here, and we go nodes, so I'm going to clone these nodes here, and by cloning that makes it so that I will be able to reuse this. If I add extra drawings for the hands, it will show up on both, so that works out better. So we'll clone it, move it over. I'm going to move the body over. We're going to put it in the middle. So we'll have both arms together. This time we'll call this right arm. And I'm going to give it just a different color, and we'll recolor this one as well, so it's just easier to see which is which. I mean, sometimes we might want to make both arms the same color. So now I can attach that there. We can see it breaks a little bit of the view that's going on, because what we are going to need now will be static transformation, and I will just need a basic peg. So pull these down so I have enough room to get both of those inside. Put this up here. Zoom in a little bit. Okay, so static transformation exists inside from that peg. This peg is going to be and the upper body peg should actually be controlling. As we look at this, the upper body peg should be controlling each arm, and then the master peg is controlling the upper body and the lower body pegs. That would make more sense. So now if I go and grab this peg right here for the arm, we're just going to do a straight horizontal flip. You can see it moved it over. Now what I can do is translate that into my appropriate location. I need an additional shoulder as well, so we'll have to add that in. But now that I'm just kind of guess it's going to be about here, then we'll put in a shoulder. So with that peg in, now what I can do is go in my static transformation. I'll say bake immediate parents transformation. It puts it back, and then we just take that peg and we slip it back out, and now it sits in place. And we slip it out by holding down Alt or Option and dragging it, and it removes it from the cable connection. So we're going to have to make this a little bit wider because we're going to have to add in our second shoulder here. So this is another time where we can take these nodes, select them, nodes, and we will say let's clone those and move that over here. So now we have on the shoulder, we'll attach that in on the comp so we can see it. And because we cloned it, we're going to now need to put in another static transformation and another peg. So I'll put those in. Attach that into the upper body as well. With the peg selected, flip it over, and then go to static, big parent, flips it, alt drag that out, reattach it. Okay, there it is. Oh, probably should have just drawn a new one because that's really ugly and doesn't really look great, but we'll relocate it, and we're going to have a little divot at the neck, but that's okay. So we're making progress here, setting all of this up. So the main body needs to be cut by both shoulders. So we want it to be cut by both. So we need another composite because we'll be using this composite with the shoulder doing the cross cut with the right arm, because we have the left arm. So then we'll have to have the right arm being cross cut by the auto patch. That's okay. That was quick and easy. And the arms auto patch needs to cut it, as does the auto patch of, okay, this, I'm going to just change colors here. That blue is really hard to see. We'll go for that so we can see our cables a little bit easier. All right, so now we have that, and we want to cross cut the body, so we need one more comp. Grab another comp here and put that in. So the shoulder auto patches, cutting the body there. Well, we'll just leave it there. And the shoulders auto patch is cutting. So we have both shoulders. Makes sense to put both shoulders on top of the body, so it's sitting here with that because of how the shoulders are pairing up with the arms. So both arms are kind of sitting in front of the body at the moment. Now these flip pegs, I mean, you can rename this flip peg, so if you ever want to flip it or do something, you can do that, or afterward you can just delete it. It's entirely up to you. So now we can see if I select the upper body, it selects that. We have our character master peg over here, which would then also connect to our lower body master. And if I go and grab my animation tool, you'll see that I can move this arm. I can push it back. Got a little adjustment we have to do apparently, but a little bit of line showing through there. Not quite sure what would cause that. So let's go see. So with our right shoulder here, line art. Okay, so it's not on the line art, which doesn't quite make sense. Seems that we got a little bit of a glitchiness going on the line art there. Since we have that little spot. Zoom in on our drawing. Okay. Doesn't really make sense. So I think we're just going to chalk that up to something is glitching a little bit there. Just going to delete that temporarily. Let's see what happens. Oh, it's on the wrong side because it's right here where this is happening. So it's something about the line art. So if we select all of that line art, I'm going to set my minimum size to 100%. I'll just leave that all at one size. Now let's go back into our camera view. Okay, no line art, it's still there. And apparently we have a little bit of art on the color, and now I remember why. Is when I made it, I had the line art and color art on the color art layer by accident, and when I moved it, I thought I moved it. So now let's go select. There we go. Got rid of that point. Camera view, all better. So somehow it didn't show because it lined up exactly with that point over there, so we didn't know it when we were in the other view. That's why it's important. Pay attention to which art layer you're on when you're making it, because I added line art, added color art, but then when I selected the line art from my color art layer and pasted it into my line art layer, I never realized I left that little kind of defect behind. Okay. So with that, we've added 2 arms. Right now I have one in front of the body, one behind the body. If we go and grab the arm master, pull that back forward, back, we can see where it works kind of perfect. So I hope this helps. Gives you a little bit better understanding, noticing how we can make our views just a little bit cleaner by making these art layer groups. So you don't have to have all of those. And it's useful when you make that group the first time, leave the names there, so then when you're hovering over the ports, it tells you what that port is. That's overlay, line, auto patch, color. Good luck. Happy rigging.